We're here to talk about pelvic floor health. Why did you introduce all of that stuff to the club?
You know, we do a lot in and around the menstrual cycle, but just learning more and more the importance of pelvic floor control and why so many people, everybody, not just athletes, struggle with that, and how we almost have to retrain our brain around the way we do things so that we're not doing it in the same way the men's were. So it's probably been an evolutionary thing.
Do you think people just start thinking about it after giving birth and being a mum?
I remember working with a woman called Eva Woods. She was huge in this space in the early days of Chelsea, and it was certainly a bigger consideration prior to me having Harry. But once I had Harry and I realised the importance of it from a personal perspective, I think perhaps I went even harder after those things, and I wanted to ensure that when Melanie Leopolds had a baby, that she could avoid all the pitfalls I had experienced.
Obviously Melanie does her thing and knows about it, but she told us that other players have now started learning about it, and she was like, they're annoyed because they have to do pelvic floor exercises. But how important is it for the players who don't even want to have kids or wouldn't think about it as well?
I think the best way it was put to me was, you'll have to deal with it at one point in your life. So why not deal with it at an earlier age? And that working on pelvic floor control and everything in and around that is critical to your epicentre, to your balance, to the way you move, to the way you pee, etc. And it's something that just gets overlooked because lack of knowledge, lack of awareness around it. And I think once we realise that every female struggles with it at some point in time, it's best to be on top of that from as young an age as possible to avoid maybe some of the challenges you get a little bit later on in life.
Like you say, it does get overlooked. Just talk us through your decision to bring in someone specifically.
You know, when people say, oh, I'll do that, that's what they do in the men's building, I say, I don't care. I'm not interested, they're not women. But the reality is, we have to deal with so many different things. You know, the way our hips are shaped, certain Q angles, to the fact that we have different body parts, to the fact that we have menstrual cycles, we've got ovaries, we've got everything we have to deal with in a much different way. And unfortunately, that expertise isn't widely known and widely used. So I found that we've had to work with the team to almost set the standard. By working with the very best in those fields, we've been able to learn even more, not just about pelvic floor, but everything, types of injuries, types of recoveries from those injuries, etc.
Obviously, like a decade ago, people weren't even talking about really periods in sport. Do you think in 10 years' time, everyone will have a pelvic health coach or physio, like people talk about periods now?
Yeah, I do, but that should be the bare minimum. I think my biggest concern is there's probably a lack of expertise. You know, we have one of the best working with us here, but how many are there really out there in this space? Is there an education around female physiology and within sport, etc., and all the different nuances that might be required? I'm not so sure. I think there's generic sports science, generic, you know, health work being done around athletes, but specifically with women, I still think we've got a long way to go. I always say this, I always remember school and sex education being about how to put a condom on, but no one really told me much in the way of anything about dysregulated periods, you know, menstruation in general and some of the challenges, whether it was PCOS, whether it's endometriosis, whether it's whatever it might be. And it's almost like so many girls and women, I can't say they already know this, you have to just organically learn along the way, and it's not widely accessible. There isn't enough education, I think, from school age to be able to transfer that into wider society.
Talk to me a bit about Emma Brockwell, because she's a bit of an icon in this space, and so many people that we've spoken to have been helped by her. So why was it Emma that you chose?
My head physio, Laura Bettinelli, hugely experienced person. I remember sitting down with her and saying we absolutely have to find, you know, the best in this space. And her and Georgie Broomvale's our, you know, women's health coach. Between us, we sort of came up with an array of things, to be honest with you, and Emma was one of those. And I've personally worked with her, so I can vouch for that. And having recovered from a hysterectomy with Emma's work, she certainly got me from a place that was, yeah, I mean, hysterectomy's tough, but within 2, maybe 3 weeks, I got back to a good position based on the progressive work I'd done around my pelvic floor. So, and because I've experienced it, I can vouch for it in a much different way.
Is there enough kind of understanding, awareness of pelvic floor health, not just when it becomes a problem, but kind of preventative health within the sports space?
No, but within society. You can't limit it to sport. I think of our kids in school onwards. For girls and women, there's a lack of awareness, understanding, education around it.
Why is it so overlooked as like a health concept?
We'll just go and have a look at the vast amounts of money that are apportioned to men's health versus women's health, and you'll have your answer right there.